And I mean, I'm repulsed, right? But I don't really have anything else going on that morning, so I figured, no, I'll close my eyes. So he reaches in for a kiss, and I guess something must have died in his mouth overnight. Like I don't know if a possum got in there or what, but it was not good. So I get up and I go crack open a spare toothbrush, and I come out and I try to be all cutesy with it, right? Like, hey, big boy, here comes the train, open for my So he gets up and he goes and brushes his teeth. Turns out there weren't that many left to brush. And then I take one for the team in this case being you guys, because we all know bad decisions make good stories.
Okay, well, total visual right there. You know when you can imagine what she's talking about. I love it. All right, we have with us Chantal Desjardins. She's a comedian at Yuck Yucks. And listen, if you want to catch the show this Saturday, or which will be tomorrow, we are giving away, she is giving away 3 pairs of tickets. You need to call 613-236-5233. Code word daytime. 2 tickets are yours. So give that number a shout. 2 tickets for tomorrow's Yuck Yuck show. She's with us. Chantal, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, I love when I read your, little bit of a bio. You were in the media for 12 years. You were kind of doing what I'm doing. Just
Yeah.
a TV thing, and you did sports broadcasting as well, which means you know all about sports. I'd love to hear your take on the Sens later.
Okay.
How do you go from that to stand-up comedy?
You know what? I kind of fell into it. I
Really?
never had any desire to do it. And I was doing the morning show in Montreal on a rock station. I was telling this funny story. I'd just gotten divorced. And this comedian walked in because he was a guest on a show like down the hall. And he walks in, he's like, "You're funny." He's like, "Have you ever thought about doing stand-up?" And I was like, "Never." And he's like, "I'll tell you what." His name's Joey Elias. He's like, "I teach a class on Monday nights." And I'm like, "Well, you can't teach funny." Like he's like, "Come one time. If you don't like it, I'll never bug you again."
Okay.
I showed up at his class. There's like 15 of us, just kind of like, trying stuff out on stage.
Yeah.
And I liked it. 6 weeks later, I did a friends and family night, and 3 people came up to me after and hired me based on that set. And I was like, "You can make money doing this?" Turns out you don't make that much money doing it, but it's very much.
But it's a I think a lot of times just, it's one thing to sort of be funny in say one sentence, like, this is sort of what I do. So
Sure.
Sometimes you can be quirky but to be able to sustain, how long is a set?
I do 15 minutes.
So let's say 15 minutes, and it has to, people don't want just one funny line. They expect to be funny. Like, how stressful is that?
It's almost a science. Like when you're writing, it's like a laughs per minute thing. Like I don't know how the clubs do, like they monitor how they get their talent in. But for me, I notice I'll watch back all my sets and I try to get a laugh every 10, 15 seconds.
Wow.
And it's really hard because I'm a storyteller. I don't tell jokes. I tell stories that happen to me. And so it's all about punchline or little punches throughout the story. So it's actually, I find that part fascinating. It's not just getting up and entertaining people, which is like, the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done. Like I've done live national TV.
Yeah.
This is more nerve-wracking for a group of 30 people sitting in the audience, or in the case of Yuck Yucks, it'll probably be a couple hundred, but like way more nerve-wracking than, I've done Hockey Night in Canada in front of 3 million people. And this is crazy. Like it's just the biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had.
Incredible. And you really, when you're up there, the stories you tell, they relate to you.
Yeah.
They're your stories.
Yeah.
And I read, it's, about divorce and dating. That's sort of the big thing that you went through when you started, and that's where your comedy lies. And
well,
I can see the comedy almost.
Well, I hadn't been single since I was 17, and suddenly I'm, in early 30s, I'm trying to date again. And I'm so like a fish out of water, and I'm going for beers with my girlfriends, and I'm telling them these stories, and they're cracking up, and they're like, "You have to tell these stories on stage," just because it's such a different perspective at this point of your life, And so I started to tell stories. Like I tell everybody that I go on a date with that there's a chance if this goes sour, your story's going to end up on stage.
Well, it's kind of like Taylor Swift writing about her boyfriends. You're dating, and you might be joking about them later.
Yeah.
But do you find that if you do the comedy based on your truth, that it's easier than trying to come up with something?
Sure, for sure. And now, now I'm dating somebody, but it's still all these stories about, my dating life up until this point. And it's such a fun way to connect with the audience, because it is your truth.
Absolutely. Okay. What would be the big difference between doing TV and doing this kind of thing? What do you think the biggest differences are?
Well, when we do TV, when I did TV, you can think you are the funniest thing ever, right? And you make a joke and you're like, "That was amazing." And you'll never know. with stand-up, you know right away if your joke is funny or it's not funny. And it's the same with radio. Like you make a joke, you think you're funny on radio, and you'll never know right away what the immediate reaction is. There's something about that immediate reaction, seeing their face when you hit a punchline. You're like, that was amazing, and they're like, no, it wasn't. You know, and it's just like it's so humbling.
And what? There you are. Look at you doing sports stuff.
There I am.
That was you before.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And were you allowed to be funny here?
I was. It's just a different setup though, right? Because there's so many different moving parts involved, and there's so many people that you have to throw to. It's a lot of like logistics of moving through things. So there's not a lot of time where you're just sitting there and you're able to let your personality
you're
shine.
on stage, it's all you. So one man
it's
show,
just
it's
you,
all you. You can
you
sort
know?
of time it the way you want.
Yeah, so it's a whole different, like I really enjoyed doing hockey,
of
but
course.
it's about, you know, you and a couple other guys, and you're getting their, you know, professional opinion on whatever's happening in the game. There's not a lot of time to just, you know, chat and make,
and
you know,
sort of be you.
And be you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, 15 minutes, it's all me.
Okay, so what about, has that happened where you kind of think you've got something really funny going on and then it's not so funny?
Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes I can do the exact same set on a Friday and a Saturday. Friday, gangbusters. Like it's everybody's laughing, everybody's clapping, everybody's crying. They're laughing so hard, and you're like, this is great. And then Saturday, different crowd. Maybe, you know, something happened during the day. They're just in a different mindset. They don't think it's as funny. I can deliver it the exact same way. Crickets.
And how does that make you feel? Does that like bring up, or do you just
not great?
Just know, yeah,
like drinking a cocktail or six. It's really about what I'm still trying to learn is not getting too high and not getting too low, because I'm very easily excitable. So when I have a good show, I'm like, this is all I want to do for the rest of my life. And then if you have a show where they're not laughing as much, you're like, I'm going to become an accountant.
Yeah.
You know?
There's some comedy in that, I'm sure. Just ask my husband. Okay, so before we run out of time, tell us what's next for you. What's coming up?
So I'm still doing a little bit of TV. I work for a station called Poker Vision Network. So I'm doing some poker TV, which is kind of fun because there's so many characters in poker, right?
Yeah.
And then I've got about 30 more shows coming up. I've had about 40 comedy shows in the last couple months.
Wow.
Heading to New York next week, and we'll see from there.
I love it. I want everybody to go see you. So Chantal Desjardins will be live May 12th and 13th at Yuck Yucks, which is on Elgin Street. If you got the number at the top of the show, that's the number to call to get yourself a pair of tickets. We wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very much.
No crickets for your next show.
Well, thank you.
All right.
See you
We're
there.
going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking to a food media specialist, staying healthy while you're on the road. Stay tuned.